The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for Canterbury Earthquake Recovery and asks, is he satisfied that the Canterbury Earthquake business support measures undertaken by the government have worked as intended?
The Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, to the extent that any government support measures could ever make up for the impact of a global recession and New Zealand's largest natural disaster, yes, but if there are some unintended consequences the member wishes to put in front of me, I'll certainly consider them.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Supplementary. To the Minister, is he satisfied that his package of $600,000, made up of 2.5 full-time employees and $100,000 in cash for business promotion, will have any practical effect to help businesses across the Canterbury region when local retailers have predicted, as late as today, that 20% of businesses in Kaiapoi, for instance, are likely to close as a direct result of the earthquake?
The Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, there are 2 points I'd like to make about that. First, yes, I do. The money is being administered by authorities that are outside of government, NGOs effectively, and I know that they are leveraging that sum against very kind offers from APN and from Fairfax Media, that the local authorities are also contributing to that. The important thing for those businesses is to get customers. So advertising the fact that they're available to provide services is a very important factor. In the case of Kaiapoi, it's estimated that about 80% of the space north of the river is likely to be demolished. Now, there's not much a government can do about that.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
To the Minister, does he agree with his colleague Nicky Wagner, who said in an email to Canterbury business person Roger Thomas on 8 December 2010, quote, "Businesses that are struggling need to have a good look at themselves to identify whether it is just the earthquake or whether they are at a stage that they need to do more work on their business model, and the earthquake has just brought it to a head earlier than it would normally," unquote. Or does he think that those comments are out of touch and rather insulting to business owners struggling in the aftermath of the biggest earthquake we've had in New Zealand's history?
Insofar as
Mr.
the member's not responsible for what Nicky Wagner might say, but the minister's capable of handling his responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, I can sympathise with the member's concern about businesses who are struggling. But what I would say is, asking me to comment about that particular exchange without knowing the full exchange, and I know the gentleman concerned, Roger Thomas, former travel agent, he may still be in that business. There are a number of businesses that are thriving at the present time. There are many who are in some difficulty, but what I would say to the member is that no business can ever afford to be static at any time. So reconsideration of a business model is something all businesses regularly do.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove, point of order, is it?
I seek leave, Mr Speaker, to table the email to also assist the Minister, who hasn't seen it, of Wednesday 8 December 2010 from Nicky Wagner to one Roger Thomas, noting that businesses have got to have a look at themselves.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Brendan Burns, supplementary.
Supplementary question to the Minister. Given that an estimated 30% of San Francisco businesses folded after that city's 1979 quake, has the Minister any estimate of Canterbury business closures following the September 4th quake, and would 30% or more be acceptable to him?
The Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I don't think that anyone could compare the two earthquakes for the simple reason that New Zealand is one of the most highly insured countries in the world. Our uptake of business interruption insurance is very high. That is not the case in San Francisco. I've made checks on that. And the point about what is an acceptable level, there is no level that would be acceptable in its entirety. But inevitably, when you have a disaster, there are disastrous consequences for some people. We're trying to mitigate as much as possible against that.
Brendan Burns.
Has the Minister got the Prime Minister's full support for his portfolio, given Mr Key told the Canterbury Employers Chamber of Commerce shortly after the September 4 quake that the government would do, quote, whatever it took to assist the region, a pledge which last week saw the Cabinet reject a modest $4.1 million package sought by the Chamber and North Canterbury Enterprise Board to stop Canterbury businesses from bleeding jobs and closing their doors.
The Honourable Jerry Brown.
Well, Mr Speaker, the final part of that question is pure supposition on the part of the member, part of, I think, an unnecessary scaremongering. What I'll say is this. The government has put up the money for the reinforcing of those suburbs to ensure that New Zealanders who own those houses, Canterbury residents, don't lose their equity. We've also ensured that there has been no delay to the EQC making payments, and I'd ask anyone to tell me whether or not the $450 million that's been paid into Canterbury substantially for chattel damage is having a positive economic effect. I can quote the Canterbury Chamber of Commerce, who are saying that yes, it is making a big effect.
Question number 5, Dr. Kennedy Graham.